All right. Welcome, everybody. Going to go ahead and get started here in just about a minute. So, thank you for everybody joining me today during this beautiful Saturday weather. So, for those of you that are hanging out, I really appreciate that. I'm sure we would all like to be outside right now. So welcome. I am Mike Dolly, the president of the Wisconsin High School Esports Association. We have been an org or an official nonprofit now for just about a year. We're coming up. We finished paperwork over the summer, so we're getting close to our 1 year mark. We've been around for about 3 years now. We started with 7 schools in 2017 and have since grown to about 65 high schools. So basically, hopefully next year we will hit about 20% of all Wisconsin high schools, which is going to be pretty neat. So, um, if you have any questions, as you can see down there at the bottom, if you want to email me or tweet at me, or you can just comment in the chat any questions that you may have throughout this entire process. This video is recording and it is live over on our YouTube channel as well. Um, so if you have to dip out at any time, please feel free. It will be available on YouTube for here on out. And it'll be available on Twitch for probably about a month or so is usually about how long that they sit on YouTube or on Twitch. Sorry. So if you have questions, let me know. After each segment, I will take a quick break and check all the different either the chat section or the check Twitter or my email so I can answer specific questions that you may have. Even if you have anything, I might even just read it in my chat right away and answer in real time. So a little bit without further ado here. So a little bit about me. I graduated in 2012 from UW-Whitewater with a business education degree. While I was there, I was disc golf club president, which a lot of the skills that I've been using in order to help develop and organize this, I got a lot of from being the disc golf club president there, organizing competitions and tournaments and stuff like that. I started at Arrowhead High School in 2012, in which I got introduced to esports by a student named Ian. He gave a presentation about the League of Legends World Championship. I grew up as a huge gamer. My mom was a PC tech for a local hospital, so she'd often bring me components home so that way I could upgrade my machine. I played a lot of Diablo 2 and a lot of StarCraft. So, had this been something that was around 10 years later or 10 years earlier, I should say, I would love to be competing in this space. But for now, I'm the one that's helping organize some of this. So, after I left Arrowhead in 2018, I've become an instructional systems designer at Allman Inc., where I work with construction companies, agriculture, mining, outdoor power equipment, stuff like that. Um, and since I've got my master's through UW Stout all online, which is kind of where we all are right now. And I'm also a huge sports fanatic. I've been to the Stanley Cup to watch the Blackhawks. Unfortunately, it was the only game that they lost in the series. I've got to go to England and see my favorite Premier League team, Tottenham Hotspurs, play at the old White Hart Lane. I'm a Green Bay Packers shareholder. I love the Cubs, so Wrigley North up here is really nice for me to be able to go see my favorite team play locally. So that's just a little bit about me. For those of you, if you're watching here, it looks like we have a few viewers here. So if you can just like type in the chat just so I can kind of understand of who I may be talking to, where you're at in the state. I know I've shared this out to our friends in Ohio, Minnesota, um, Michigan, Illinois, and the such. So I'm hoping that this can serve a lot of schools here in the Midwest just to get a better understanding of what esports is and why there are so many schools that are starting to hop on board. So, excuse me. All right. So, quite a few topics that I'm going to try to cover today. Um, I've been trying to blast these all out all over social media for the last couple of days, but essentially, Going to go ahead and talk about just what esports is. I don't know how familiar some of you are with the current industry that is esports. I'm going to talk about what our organization does and how we kind of structure everything. I'm going to talk quite a bit about esports culture and what that looks like from an advisor coach standpoint to then what it looks like from a student standpoint as well. I'm really big on aligning this with curriculum because this is one of the clubs that allows students to take what they're learning in the classroom and actually apply it into a real life situation. And I'm a huge project-based learning type of educator, so if I can align what I'm doing in the classroom to what we can do after school, that's a huge perk. So I really like DECA and FBLA because you can take what you're doing in the business classes and apply it after school into a positive thing. Whereas esports can hit about like 10 different content areas. And so I'll talk a little bit about how we can go ahead and align to that. We'll talk a little bit about space and technology. As far as what the requirements are for a school, I have quite a few pictures from schools around the state as far as what their space looks like. We'll talk a little bit about what goes into actually coaching and advising esports. And then to wrap this up, I do have a lot of alignment with career and collegiate opportunities. So if there's no questions, go ahead and get started. Right away, a question as far as Valorant goes. So it's in a tough situation, right? It's in beta right now. So for those of you else that are watching, Valorant is a brand new game that Riot just came up with. It's a first-person shooter. It's not overly violent. They have specific things in there to remove some of the blood and gore. Really going to have to wait to see how that emerges before we consider it a title. But we'll talk about titles in a little bit as well. So, all right, as far as esports and what we, the WIHSEA, do as an overview, first off, really super simplistic. Esports is just competitive video gaming, whether that's console, so your Switch, Xbox, PlayStation, could be on mobile. I'm personally a PC gamer. I have been since I was in 5th grade, so that's really where my focus is. But it's really growing across the world. It is a multi-billion-dollar industry at this point. So, and we're starting to see more and more companies getting involved. BMW just got involved. Kit Kat is really big into this space. Same with Snickers. Coca-Cola is obviously all over the place as well. So we're starting to see a lot more buy-in from some of these like Fortune 500 companies. So what can be an esports title? There are tons of games, literally hundreds of thousands of games out there. So really what makes something into a esports title? A lot of them, big player base usually is the number one thing. A ranked ladder to go onto it as well in order to create some of this competition. Some of these game developers love the competition space and actually really like it as a grassroots movement. And then other times it is just how well can you play the game. So this one is a little bit older here from the Esports Observer. They have Fortnite as a tier 1. What's really crazy about Fortnite, as far as even with its popularity, is that the makers, Epic Games, actually don't really support it as an esports title. It's really just grassroots, community driven. They don't really produce much for events or anything like that. And it's really kind of interesting to see they were really against making it an esports title right away. Two of the big international ones, League of Legends, has about 100 million people around the world watching the World Championships. So in the US, that is only the Super Bowl actually has more viewership than the League of Legends World Championship. We actually got to host the League of Legends World Championship not too long ago here in the US. Dota 2 is another really big title because of the amount of money that it raises. The international tournament has an obscene amount of prize money available. And it gets quite a few views as well. In your tier 2, a little bit more of, this is a very like FPS or first person shooter populated tier right now. CSGO has been around forever. Rainbow Six Siege is pretty popular. Hearthstone is a card game, actually. It's one that I actually started playing quite a bit of. And then Overwatch. Overwatch is more of a futuristic, cartoony kind of first-person shooter. Like you have a gorilla that has a lightning gun. So not realistic violence, but we've had some schools that have been like, that's kind of teetering along a line. So it is one that we offer just because of the ESRB rating. But some schools, it is a no-go. Then looking down in your tier 3 there, we have titles like Rocket League, which we offer as well. It's basically 3-on-3 soccer with cars that can fly. FIFA is a big one, especially internationally, but it is a harder title to feature because you can play on the PC, Xbox, and PlayStation, which makes it hard because they don't play well together. So you can't play somebody on an Xbox while you're playing from a PS4. So because of that, it's hard to where then you have to offer 3 different divisions for all different platforms. Whereas a game like Rocket League allows you to play across all platforms, which is really, really nice, which is one of the main reasons why we chose to feature it. This is actually what an esport event looks like. This is a picture that I took down in Chicago. This is the Intel Extreme Masters, which is a Counter-Strike tournament, and they were hosting it at the Wintrust Arena, which is where the DePaul Blue Demons play. After this year, it's been hosted at the United Center now. I was there for a semifinal match on a Saturday morning, and in total, there's about 4,000 people in attendance. For the finals on Sunday, it was about 6,000 to 7,000, and this was the first time that they had hosted it. It was a really cool event. There's so much fan engagement. It was awesome. They had little Fitbits that everybody would wear, and in CS:GO, you try to plant the bomb and get the bomb to detonate. So when they would plant it, everybody's little Fitbit would start flashing orange. And as the timer was getting lower, it would start flashing. And then if it detonated, the whole arena would just have all these big flashing orange bulbs on everybody's hand. So really cool. They were using augmented reality as well. It was just really neat to see as well. That was my first major tournament that I got to go to as a spectator. As far as high school sports go, high school esports, I should say, there is a lot happening right now. Number one, there are multiple national leagues that you can choose to participate in. We have some schools that participate in ours and both of these other ones that are available as well. Play VS, at the time that I made this presentation, they had 9 states on board. I do believe that they are up to about 12 states right now. You might have read about them in the news. They received $96 million in startup funding and tout that they are the official high school esports organizer. Does cost $65 per student per season. Last I saw on their website. And there are, I believe, 3 seasons. So in order to field a team of League of Legends, you're looking at $325 per team. If there's 3 seasons, it's about $1,000 a year for the League of Legends team to compete. HSEL is a little bit cheaper with about $165 for a 7-player team. And then there's the NASEF, which is based out of California. This is one that there are multiple states now, including Ohio and Texas, state-run leagues like Wisconsin here that have partnered with NASEF. And they're very student-centric. There's a lot of curriculum. There's a lot of extra opportunities, a lot of chances for students to go beyond just the game and actually do a lot more within esports and not just playing the game, which I think is fantastic. As far as state-run leagues, the Midwest is super popular. Wisconsin, Illinois, Ohio, Indiana, Michigan, Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, and Texas all have official state-run leagues right now. I believe we have some friends up in Minnesota that are starting to get on board as well. And in the U.S. here, we have over 140 colleges that are now offering collegiate scholarships for esports. I have 2 former students of mine that are competing in colleges, receiving scholarships. But here in the state, Marquette It is the most popular program on their campus right now for their esports program. Madison does have a club. Marian University, Northwestern Technical College, Lakeland University. You might have heard about that one since Amon Green is the program director. Um, Obviously, Packer legend running back. So I've got to meet him a couple of times and be a little starstruck myself. So Concordia does as well. And I'll actually talk a little bit more about collegiate opportunities a little bit later in this presentation too. So what is the WIHSEA? We are essentially what the WIAA is to traditional sports. We are that for esports. We have 5 goals here that you can really see, trying to redefine some of this athletic culture that we have. We really push for equality, inclusiveness, providing additional opportunities for our students to participate. Not everybody cares about the games, right? So we have some students that are stepping into leadership roles. We have students that are stepping into like marketing roles, broadcasting, streaming, a lot of different opportunities within this. And it's great for them in order to develop those skills because it increases collegiate and career pathways for them. Getting that real hands-on experience is really, really important. We really push for good mental health and physical health as well. A big concern usually is that, you know, with esports, students are sitting for a prolonged period of time. While that is true, we do have programs across the state that are implementing, you know, just morning yoga sessions, just some quick stretches in order to help loosen up the body. We have some that are in the weight room doing small free weights because the research will show that you will actually produce at a higher critical thinking and analysis rate by doing some simple workouts. It helps keep your brain sharp and focused. So that is really important. And we see that with collegiate and professional scenes as well, that they are having their teams hit the gym. While it may not be, you know, squatting 450 pounds, they're still doing a really good job of just being in there and being physically active. And the big one here is honor the importance of play. We are playing games. We are here to have fun and enjoy them. That will come with its own challenges because of some of the current culture that is online gaming that we are actively working to try to move away from. So more about that in a little bit. So why should schools participate? Esports reaches the whole student population. I have had everything from your at-risk kids, I've had wheelchair-bound students. I've had, you know, 3-sport athletes in there as well. Everybody games these days, and the research shows it's about 80 to 90% of male and female that are playing games, whether they're esport titles or they're, you know, puzzle games or strategy games. Something like Animal Crossing is a really big popular title right now. They're all playing games in a sense. While it may not be competitive, they are still gaming. It's a really great outlet for students, especially our non-traditionals, those that aren't traditional athletes. I've had a lot of students that esports was their only club or activity that they were participating in after school. I can say I've seen less attendance issues, less disciplinary issues, increased grades, and less missing work from the students that I've had participating in my program because I built that type of culture within my program that said, you know, you can't be participating if you are, you know, rocking 2 Ds and an F. Like I had that rapport with my students that I could set that standard, and I know gaming was important to them and they wanted to come participate. So it was definitely a huge motivational tool as well. As far as what schools are involved or interested. So this is a map here of schools in Wisconsin that have either competed, are competing, or have emailed me expressing interest to participate. I have nearly 140 email addresses on my mailing list of schools across the state. And to think this started with 7 schools and has now grown into over 65 actively participating this year. I'm guessing we will be getting close to 100, if not over 100 schools next year as well. So, what does our competition look like? We have 2 seasons. We have a fall and a spring. You can choose to register for both if you want. We do offer varsity and JV. We only allow 9 through 12 students on varsity, and JV, we are open to middle school students participating. This has been a super positive addition or rule that we've come up with because it allows some of our smaller rural schools in order to start to bring that culture into the middle school. And then we've had some schools like Clinton, Wisconsin, to where their middle school team in JV went like 6-2 this year, or 7-2. I forget which one. Probably 6-2. But their middle school team is doing extremely well in JV, and they're going to be able to get 2, maybe even 3 years of experience in competition before they bump up to varsity. So if you don't have a large player pool to pull from, JV and involving your middle school students who sometimes don't have a lot of extracurricular options to participate in, we think it's really important to get our middle schools involved as well. Once registration closes, we separate everything down into divisions and conferences. This year we had 3 divisions, and within each division we had 2 conferences. We separate divisions by school enrollment size, just like you do with traditional athletics, because we believe in competitive equity. I was a little skeptical at first, but after seeing the results over the last 2 years of doing this, I can tell you it makes a huge difference. I've seen schools go from 2 semesters of 0-8 to all of a sudden 2-6 to 4-4, and now certain schools are sitting at 6-2 or even 7-1. So being able to see that growth and playing schools of similar size has been really important as well. We do 8 weeks of competition, so there's usually 1 night a week that students are competing for specific titles. So right now, this year in the fall, we had Overwatch and Smash. Danny. Smash was on Tuesday nights, Overwatch was Wednesday nights, and then we had JV competition on Thursday. In the spring here, we offer Rocket League and League of Legends. And Rocket League is on Tuesday, League is on Wednesday for varsity, and then JV was on Thursday. So 1 day a week, you do your competition, we update standings and whatnot, and then all teams make playoffs, just like with traditional sports. The way that we've been doing it is within the 2 divisions there. We try to obviously separate the teams, so that way you may not be playing somebody that you've played before. We've had some divisions that have had multiple schools sitting at like 6-2, while the other division was at 4-4. So there's, couldn't have been that, one conference was really dominant, or was it that competition was so close in another one? And the splitting up of the conferences across the playoff bracket has been awesome. Semifinals and finals are played at a physical location. We hosted last year all 4 titles at once, which was crazy. It was a 16 or 18 hour day for myself, which was crazy. We held it at Game On in Fond du Lac, which unfortunately has since closed. This fall we hosted Overwatch and Smash at Madison College, and then this spring we were supposed to be hosting at Montello High School, which was really interesting. And it's a great idea that we've kind of come up with, that if schools want to host either in the fall or the spring, we can go ahead and set that up. For Montello, it was great because their chef in their cafeteria was really pumped. She was going to get us a bunch of like pulled pork and all these different side dishes and stuff like that. And then the school could use that as a fundraiser for their esports program as well. We're also going to start expanding to have like educational opportunities. I had about 8 to 10 colleges lined up to come and present and talk with parents and try to actively recruit students for their program, but just trying to add more and more to these competitions, so you don't just sit and wait around sometimes for 3 to 4 hours for your next competition. So how to get started at your school. first and foremost, identify a staff member who's going to oversee and participate with this program. We do require it to be an adult that is approved by the school. We don't let students run their programs, like they can be team captains and stuff like that. But to be a manager of this, we really need that adult oversight. We need somebody that's responsible, who will hold students accountable for their actions and their responsibilities towards their team. So we really need that type of individual in there. Number two, I recommend surveying students and just figuring out where their interests are. Let their interests dictate which games that you start to look at. I don't recommend starting with, all 4 titles and then getting involved in 2 national leagues. Like, it's okay to start small. Get it down, get the process and get comfortable before you start going all overboard, because this can really expand to sometimes like 4 nights a week after school for 2.5 hours, So a lot of our programs, they don't have budgets. Their advisors aren't paid. So try to keep that in mind. Start small, grow big. Number 3, create a code of conduct. And number 4, within that, define goals, objectives, and culture. This has become really important for me just because it helps set these different bars for students in order to figure out what they need to do, how they need to act. They've never been held accountable to come and play a video game at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, right? Like, they've never been held to that standard. With traditional sports, you can't just show up to the soccer field down the road and expect 21 other players to just all of a sudden randomly show up on the soccer field so that you can play. It's a big difference with gaming is that these organizations, these organized competitions, we have to hold students accountable because it could potentially waste a lot of other people's time as well. Like, all of a sudden you have 2 kids that decide they're not going to show up for their Wednesday match, and you don't get an opportunity to inform the other school. Well, on Wednesday, I know when I taught at Arrowhead, they were done at 2 o'clock. So if matches don't start until 4, I have students waiting around until 4 p.m. waiting for their match. And then they don't hear until 4:30 that, oh, our students didn't show up. And then it's like, sorry, guys, go ahead and go home. Like, I guess you don't get to play. It's a forfeit. Like, that's something that they don't understand because they've never experienced it. So setting those goals and objectives, setting that culture is really important. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about this later, but setting expectations, restrictions, all that kind of fun stuff. Get a dedicated area set up. I just repurposed my classroom. When I was teaching at Arrowhead, I taught in a computer lab most of the day anyway, so I worked with my IT department to get some of these titles installed on those machines themselves. At most, you need 6 machines if you're running Overwatch. You'll only need 6. If you're running Smash, you will need to either purchase a Switch and the game and a TV, or you can rely on a student in order to bring a Switch, and you can go ahead and grab one of the cart TVs down from the library. I obviously don't prefer the latter because students sometimes forget to bring it, or mom and dad say, no, you're not bringing that to school. That's expensive. And there's a litany of other things. A student goes home sick that day or something like that, and then your whole team is kind of left out to dry. So to me, that's a hard one to push because the PCs in our schools, a lot of the times we can multi-purpose them. Like, we're already using them for classroom material. So if we're running Photoshop or CAD or something along those lines, they're going to be powerful enough in order to run these titles. Smash, extremely popular title, but does require some additional equipment, which is kind of unfortunate. Ensure firewall is set up properly. That one is huge. We have a lot of schools that don't scrimmage at school. So when they all of a sudden, it's the official competition, they're playing it, or they're trying to play at school, they get logged in and they find out, oh, we can't connect to the network because we didn't work with our IT to ensure that it was up and running yet. So then they have to forfeit the first 2 weeks because they didn't check their firewall settings. That's why we do require scrimmages to be played at school. But again, not everybody follows the rule set. Once you're done, You can join a state or national league. Not all of them require you to play at school. We do because we want to ensure that we have that responsible adult overseeing it. Um, and then last but not least, have fun. This is so much fun. Seeing the kids get super engaged with this, get really excited, get really involved, and if you get a chance to go to state, it is and again, even if your school doesn't make it, come on down. It is a incredible experience to see how everybody works together. And it's great too because our students who have been working or communicating together on Discord for, 5 months, getting to play with each other and stuff like that. Now they actually get to meet the person that they've spent 6 months playing with. And it's really nice that they look forward to hopefully getting to play somebody that they've been, becoming closer friends with on the internet. So how does our competition day work? Your students play from your school against the other school at their school. Log on between 3:30 and 4. I recommend 3:30 just because if there are updates that need to run before you can actually even play your game, it gives you a little bit of time. Make sure that your network is working. Make sure that your students are, they go to the bathroom or they're all there or something along those lines. The home team will make the custom lobby, and then they invite the away team. And so I'll talk about this a little bit later, but as the coach and advisor, you have access to a spreadsheet that has the other team's contact information. We don't let students have access to that because of student data privacy restrictions. So only the advisor or coach of a team may have access to that. And we also keep all of our statistics and whatnot in there too. After you complete your match, the winning team needs to report the match either to our Discord channel or there is a form on our website that you can access. And again, there's our website right down below there. I've also linked our rules and regulation as well. It is available on the website. It is a pretty lengthy document, and you and your students should be aware of the rules. So, but basically the form will update automatically, and then you can go ahead and then rinse and repeat for the next week. I stream a match of the week. So for those of you that are watching on Twitch right now, I do the play-by-play commentary, and I'll show you some examples later. I try to, highlight a school and show off kind of what they're doing and how their students are doing within competition. So I also welcome students who are interested in shoutcasting. If they want to hop on with me and do like a co-commentary thing, we can totally do that. I actually really welcome that. I've got to do that a couple of times with former students, and it's a lot of fun. It's definitely not something that I thought I'd be comfortable doing as a person, but I really, really enjoy the broadcasting side of this. Are there any questions over what esports is and what the WIHSEA is doing? I do see in the chat right now as far as asking about CSGO. CSGO is a no-go for us, and I don't think it'll ever fly for the WIHSEA. It's the fact that it's the terrorists versus counter-terrorists. It's the realistic weaponry, given the nature of the educational society. That's going to be a no-go, especially with the ESRB of 17 plus rating. That would be a no. If something were to ever happen, it's a PR nightmare for schools that they just want to avoid, because there are people that believe that video games do still cause violence. So, while some of us know that that is not true. Oh, sorry, Randy. I did have to put the delay there on the Twitch chat just because we have had issues in the past with people coming and spamming the channel with less than savory things. So it's one restriction that I've tried to put on the channel as well. So, all right. If there's no other pressing questions right now, I'll go ahead and kind of keep moving on here. I don't want to take up too much of your Saturday here. So, again, thank you for those of you that have been joining. High school esports culture. Again, this reaches every single student that we have. We have some schools that have their three sport varsity athletes as the captain of their esports team. I've had a student that's been taking 4 or 5 AP classes. I've had a lot of at risk students. We have 2 virtual schools that are actually participating. I've had, again, wheelchair bound students participating, which it's great to see. There's some new adaptive controllers that are out there in order to help those students participate as well. And we have had all various genders and ethnicities participating, everything from, the inner city to small rural towns to we've even had a seminary school participating this semester too. So we've had our first Korean and Chinese students participating. So that's pretty cool. We reach everybody, and it's awesome. There are some current negatives. There is a lot of toxicity and cyberbullying and some antisocial aspects of the esports and gaming community. These are something that we are actively, and I would say forcefully, removing from our competition. We have removed sprays and tags and emotes because it's BM, it's taunting. And so we have a 3-strike policy. First strike, if it gets reported to me, there goes an email to your coach and athletic director so that they are aware of this behavior and how it needs to be corrected. Strike 2 can see a student removed from multiple games of the season, being prohibited or banned from playing. And strike 3, it's up to the WIHSEA board to actually consider removal of the entire school from the program. So, and that would be across all titles. So it's definitely something that we take really serious. It stops people from playing. And that's not what this is supposed to be about. It is supposed to be about gaming and having fun, building a community and these connections, and constantly tearing each other down does not support that. So we are very proactive in trying to remove some of this toxicity and cyberbullying out of our competition. So there are positives, though. It is a very extremely supportive community, super strong social connections. We have had students that have, developed these friendships from across the state. They're actively playing with each other on the regular. We set up a Minecraft server not too long ago once quarantine started, and it blew up. It just absolutely blew up. Tons of kids were coming from all over the state just to participate and hang out in a Minecraft server together. So there is this really big sense of community, and it's really awesome to see. Yeah, so that's some of the current culture. So then, what role do you play as the advisor or coach of your program? In the couple of years of doing this, I say that there are 3 different types of roles. Number 1 is the zombie, where it's just literally a body in the room. They aren't actively engaging with their students. They leave everything up to the students in order to get it done and let them, if they want to be successful, be successful. They don't really care. They're in there grading papers or something along those lines. While I understand that you may not be passionate about some of this, we do need that interactivity from the adult in the room, just to care a little bit about what they're doing, how their performance is, because sometimes these kids will need to be, have a little pep talk once in a while. Like if your team is 0-6, they could be really down on themselves and they could really not be looking forward to it. And they could be having such a bad experience that they're not willing to participate again. And that's really unfortunate. But there are simple things that we can do as the adult within the room in order to encourage our students. We chunk down our classroom material in order to help them succeed in the classroom. Esports can be the exact same thing. We can set these smaller goals so that we can show that we are improving, that we are gaining knowledge, that our performance is improving. We can do that within esports as well. Simple things like, don't die for 5 minutes, get 2 turrets or something like that, depending on what game that you're playing. But like setting some of these smaller goals, and I'm here to reach out to me if you need help doing this. Like I'm here for you. Um, Number 2, to me, is my favorite role that's in the classroom, and that's going to be the knight. The knight is somebody that has no understanding of any of the games, but is there active and engaged and there to be a champion for their students. Just throwing things out on social media, promoting the positive things that are going on within their program. It's so easy to just highlight what they're doing. It honestly helps people just feel somewhat special and important. Like they get to be featured, like in the local newspaper. I mean, I have these framed. This is Milton High School. I have Arrowhead High School. Like I keep some of this stuff, like because to me, I didn't know League of Legends at the time, but I love seeing what positive things that it was doing for the students and building the community at my school. So I now know a ton of League of Legends, like way more than I care to admit to, but being that champion in the room and advocating on their behalf, because there still is this negative stereotype that esports kids are just fat, lazy, Mountain Dew and Dorito eating kids that sit in their parents' basement for hours on end. That's not true at all. So sometimes we need to be that outward face that says, this is the awesome stuff that my kids are doing. And last but not least is the coach itself. Somebody that actually has game knowledge, can work with students running drills and scrimmages and stuff of that nature to actually improve their ability. We are starting to see a lot more coaches coming out of the woodwork. I spoke with Random Lake yesterday, and they have one of their elementary school teachers is actually the Rocket League coach. He plays Rocket League. Wausau West, the advisor there, Alex, I believe is still the college coach at the local tech college for Rocket League on top of his esports program at Wausau West. So you don't have to be the coach. The knight is perfectly okay, and it's great to see the knight being there. So that's my favorite. How to build a positive culture. It really is going to start at the top and setting that code of conduct and defining expectations for your program. Not every esports student is going to be serious about competition, and that's okay. Understanding what the culture is, though. So if they're not competitive, that is okay. Or if your team doesn't want to be competitive, they're just there for fun. But understanding what it does for the whole, right? So like, while you can still have fun doing it, you're still required to be there on time. Our matches have to start because there are schools around the state that are waiting for us. Defining a positive attitude. We've had some students that aren't good at losing and sometimes have outbursts that get, negative towards their team members or just, programs in general. So setting up that positive growth style mindset within your culture is really important. Last but not least is a huge one just for me. Define communication. Like if a student isn't at school, you need to know by like 9 a.m., right? Because you need to either inform the other team that your team doesn't have enough active players in order to play that night, or that you need to then tap one of your substitute players and hope that they're available to play. Checking your email as well. I know not everybody is on Discord. It's something that we use. We have like 900 people in our Discord server. Those are our 2 ways of communicating. So I try not to spam your email, but I do send important emails on a lot of general information I share on Discord, whether that's like colleges that are recruiting, upcoming tournaments, little updates within the games or something along those lines. I try to cover those in Discord because that's where most of the students are active. Big picture stuff usually within the email. I say create an environment that you want to show off. We have schools that now have Instagram or Twitter accounts solely for their esports teams. They're starting to get custom jerseys made. I have 3 jerseys myself. And I'm rocking a nice WIHSEA polo that we just got. But just really creating this environment. Like, this is cool. And you're going to market it and bring in other kids. And it's really easy to grow. I'm a really big supporter of student leadership and putting them in some of those positions of leadership. So actively setting a team captain, and holding them to that expectation that, like, you are the team captain. You're directing your team, you're supporting your team, and kind of coming up with some of that. I love people who take an active role within this and really join in. Every Friday, I would run a little tournament after school on Fridays, and we would pick just different games. I brought in like my N64 one time. The kids love to beat up on me, especially if we play Smash. I'm a terrible Smash player, but I will do it. I will participate and get my butt kicked. That's fine. I think one of the funniest things, one of the other teachers, him and I got paired up in a tournament together for Smash. And there was so much smack talking going down. And like when one of us got knocked off the stage, the other one was like up in each other's face and screaming and hollering. And like, again, sometimes it's just fun to let go and let kids see that you have this fun side as well. So it was common for me to have sometimes 40 to 70 kids trying to get into my classroom to participate in the after school esports program. So tons of fun. Any questions related to culture here? I'm going to try to flip back and forth through YouTube and stuff like that. I think culture is one of the most important things that there is within esports. It's definitely something too, like, and I'll touch a little bit more on this on the college section, but when I interview for collegiate positions, culture is the first and foremost thing that I am talking about. I think it is so important to develop that culture and to really set those expectations. I don't talk about like going to recruit the highest ranked kids or anything like that. Like, I'm coming to find somebody that I can build a team around that is going to be positive role model for their team. So, all right. So it doesn't look like anything right now as far as questions go. If you have more, I will answer them in real time. So my favorite section here is aligning to curriculum. This is compliments of our friends over at gyo.gg. They have an awesome platform there. So shout out to Sean and his team. But this is some research that they did pulling in the different careers and study preferences of students that are participating within esports programs. Doesn't surprise me, 50% are coming in at STEM. And a lot of schools will focus on that this is a very STEM related activity. While yes, it is, I also want to focus on the other 49.6% because that's just as much, right? I love the students that are looking at this from a communication standpoint. We have some that are the English literature standpoint. The arts and business side of it is huge. I will say probably about 99.5% of all esports participants in high school and college aren't going to go pro. So the academics is the number one priority. You may receive a college scholarship for playing at the next level, but ultimately there you are to get a degree in order to start your career of something that you are passionate about. So aligning to curriculum is really important to me. And the possibilities are really endless. So I'm going to go ahead and go through some of these here in a little bit more detail. Number one, production. Exactly what I'm doing right now, but it's not just limited to esports, right? You could stream all of your basketball, football, hockey, tennis, track and field, all of that stuff. And I really think schools should be doing this because you can reach a much broader audience with your school. Grandparents are out of state can support their kids watching at home. Mom and dad that have to work late, or it's a far away game that they can't make. They can still watch and support their team or their student, I should say. Pre and post game interviews are always awesome. The Racine Unified School District does a great job with some of their pre and post game interviews, really preparing their students to be on camera. And the best part, this software is free. So I personally use Streamlabs, which is over here on the right. You can actually, if you're on our YouTube channel, you can actually find this video that's out there for free. But basically, I just show you how to do a quick setup. It's a 13-minute video. I go through all the settings of how to go ahead and get that all set up. That is available there for you. This is so much fun. I really enjoy the live streaming nature of this. And if and when I go back into a school, I will be doing live streaming, either esports or pushing for traditional sports, everything like that. Because if you're running a Twitch channel too, once you get Twitch affiliate, you actually get a donation button. And people who have Amazon Prime can sub for free. An organization like ours would get a $2.50 donation, while Amazon gets the other part of it, or Twitch does. I can't remember which one off the top of my head, but you could easily use it as a fundraiser. So there's a little bit of money that's coming in. You could start this with, your DECA or any other marketing class that you're running. And then it can help support your school store or your DECA travels or FBLA. It's really a great tool. Graphic design is huge. Here you can see some of the apparel that's coming out here on the right. This is our friends over at Fox Valley Lutheran, rocking their custom jerseys from Zero Gen. We have schools like Muskego here that are creating these Twitter campaigns now as well. Updating logos. There are so many schools that are using graphics from like 1993 MS Paint that have been just compressed and aspect ratio change that are super pixelated and outdated. It's awesome to see that there are a handful of schools that are starting to redesign and rebrand their logos. You can easily produce streaming assets, production assets. Like I've learned how to green screen myself. I've learned to use After Effects in order to create some little animated GIFs and stuff like that, just to add a little bit to the quality of our stream. So tons of things that you can do, and you can come up with different campaigns and all these different things that, it changes every year or every season, so the possibilities are endless. Social media marketing is huge. This is where we reach just about everybody. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat. Well, we don't have a Snapchat, or a TikTok. But TikTok is huge right now. All of the colleges are hopping in because it's another way for them to market themselves to the younger generation. They are actually hosting a TikTok Cup right now, which is a large esports competition that is being produced by TikTok. So tons of great analytical stuff that you can pull from this. Students could develop a 2-week campaign and actually implement it onto your school's esports page. And then that's something that they can export. I've worked with Ryan from UW-Eau Claire before, a student there. And as part of his undergrad, he was doing some marketing as a minor. And I let him basically develop a campaign for our state championship. I ran every single day the way that he had envisioned it. And then I was able to export them. And we could say over a 2-week period, Ryan helped grow our market by, 37 followers or whatever, or this many impressions, stuff like that. So it's also a portfolio piece. These students could easily be using this to help showcase themselves for colleges. Event planning, tons of opportunities within this. If you just want to run like little in-house fundraisers or little fun tournaments, if you want to get the staff involved as well, you could do call it like a pro-am, where it's like a teacher-student team that they have to compete in something. I run an Extra Life Gaming Marathon every year. It raises money for the Children's Hospitals of Wisconsin. Last year I raised, or I think our group raised just shy of $2,000. So again, it's really great PR. It involves your social media marketing. It involves a lot of your business and finance classes. It's just a really great tool in order to bring the community into and show that gaming is a positive. Journalism is growing quite a bit right now within this. We have some local newspapers, one down in Racine, that is starting to want content to be produced as far as, what's happening. for their local teams or what's happening across the state. I talked to iHeartRadio this week as well. Their Madison office is looking to enter into esports, and they want to do some featuring of local esports competitions, whether that's like a 30-minute spotlight or something along those lines. They're starting to really get involved, and I think that's really awesome. I have a student right now at Marian University that is coming up with press releases and bios and stuff like that for his college class. So shout out to Leo there for helping us there. And NASEF has tons of resources for free on their website in order to align to curriculum as well. So I'm going to go ahead and shout that out. They actually have a whole grade 9 dedicated to English and esports. So if you want to bring it into your classroom, check out their page. They have tons of great resources. Any questions over curriculum? I know I've been talking quite a bit here. Just kind of flipping back and forth here. As far as your question about the Hearthstone battle, I believe Royale is what you meant. Um, Probably not. Hearthstone has become such a pay to play game that I don't know if I can consider us offering it anymore. I'd be more inclined to offer something like MTG Arena because we've actually had conversations with Wizards of the Coast, the provider or the producer of the game, that could make it viable to where we actually have access to all the cards and stuff like that, and students could not have to pay a dime basically to compete. So prefer to work with publishers like that than ones that are just trying to make a huge profit off of our students. So unfortunately, quite a bit of predators in this space that we have to try to fend off and say like, no, our students are first. You're not here to just make a profit off of our kids. So try to stand really firm on that one. So, all right. So no questions. So I'm just going to keep chugging along here so I can try to let you get to your normal Saturday here. Space and technology requirements should go pretty fast here. You don't have to go and buy $10,000 worth of machines. You don't have to buy the latest and greatest, with the i9 and the 2080 GTX video cards with the mech keyboards and MMO style mice or anything like that. This is what some of the schools are using. They're just repurposing what they already have in order to service the purpose of competing online. Games like League of Legends, the running joke is that it can run on a potato. I have a computer from 2008 and I can still run it at over 60 frames per second, have no issues with performance, and I'm running at the highest specs possible. So it's a great game for super cheap gaming rigs. So this is Wisconsin Lutheran here. On the left, or actually both of them here, is Montello. Montello has a little bit of a dedicated area. Their fundraisers have just been going to go ahead and increase some of the graphics cards within there in order to make it into a different type of space. David, the director there at Montello, they actually have a little side room as well for streaming. And they actually have a student that part of his work study, his dream is to become like a popular streamer. So he can actually go in and spend 2 or 3 hours of his day, I forget what it is, but he can actually go in there, produce his content, and actually try to develop himself as a popular streamer. So again, there are different ways of applying this to different situations. So it depends on how you really want to jump in and make an impact. Our friends over at Sheboygan North here not only have a competitive space here, they're just repurposing things that they already have in the classroom, but then they also set up a viewing area as well. So students can come in and actually watch their team compete, which I think is really awesome. Montello does that as well, where they actually have like a viewing area for parents and community members to come in and actually watch their school compete live, which is really awesome. Our friends here at Wausau West, again, just repurposing what they already have, and they're just able to go ahead and play from there. So nothing super fancy, nothing super like $2,000 to $3,000 machines, like 144 hertz refreshing monitors. It's not necessarily needed. What students need to compete is reliable internet connection and their teammates next to them. Really, that's really it. You don't need super high-end PCs. This is going to be a lot of information that I'm just going to kind of parse over. This is more so for your IT departments, or anybody that's managing your district's technology. League of Legends, free to play, free to install, doesn't take a ton of power from a machine, but these are important to get to your IT department here. These are like the ports that you would need to open so that the client can update and connect to the internet and stuff like that. So it is a 5v5. It's a MOBA, which is a massive online battle arena. Your goal is to destroy the other team's nexus, which is their base. You have dedicated roles. You have over 140 champions to unlock. You must have 20 unlocked in order to compete in varsity. There's a special type of lobby that you need to set up that allows you to ban away champions. So then you can get into these like counter picks and counter matchups and different synergy styles to play. This is just a quick live look. This is from week 4 this semester of Wilmot versus Wausau West here. So this is what is called the draft phase here, to where they get to pick and ban their champions. And then if we go ahead and jump in. So this is like the gameplay. So from a third-party perspective here, again, this is me live streaming, doing play-by-play commentary for the match of the week. I've had students that designed these overlays and the different interactivities that come with them. So a little bit of just like an inside look of the game here. Really kind of cartoony looking, not realistic violence. You know, they use words like slain and eliminated, destroyed, stuff like that. So this one, we don't have any issues getting this approved to go into schools. Rocket League, it's a little bit more power required, but if you can run Photoshop on your computer, you can run Rocket League. May not always be at the highest specs, but it's pretty cost effective on your machines, and it only costs about $10 to $20. I say 10 to 20 because it is often on sale, that you can get it for 10, 12 bucks. You only need 3 copies because it is 3-on-3. And it is, again, it is just soccer with cars that can fly. So I'll try to go ahead and jump in. This is one right now that the MLS, the USL and USL1 soccer teams are all fielding Rocket League teams right now as an esport title, just to provide some sort of competition as well. So again, this one, you should have no problem getting this one approved because it's literally just soccer with cars. There's no violence. Nothing like that. It also works on PlayStation, Xbox, the Switch, and PC. And they can all play together, which is really awesome. That's my favorite part about this one, is that it's super inclusive to all members, no matter what type of device that you're playing on. Overwatch here tends to be a little bit more of a beefcake on your computer, a little bit more intensive on your hardware. Does cost $20. I will say this one I'm waiting to see. They just announced that Overwatch 2 is going to be coming out here soon. And that I don't know what that's going to do as far as what this can do here. So yes, Adma the Epic, you can pirate the games for cheaper if you want, but as a school district, if you get audited, That's a huge no-no. Schools often do software checks as well, so definitely not something that you want to get into. Overwatch is a unique one. It is 6-on-6. There's only 21 champions to choose from. You have 3 different types, and there's different types of maps that you play for. So you have controls, hybrid, and escorts, where sometimes you have to like help push a payload in order to get to the end goal. You have some that are where you just really need to control a special area on the map for a prolonged period of time in order to win. Again, this one a little bit more cartoony. Does have some, I'm not going to call them realistic weaponry, but it does have some first-person shooter aspects to it. So it does have some drawback from schools. Some schools are a little bit hesitant on it. But again, to me, like here, this guy's got, a giant shield and a big hammer that he drops. You have some that, yeah, they have special skills and abilities. So it really depends on your school board, what their opinions are, what the community kind of feedback is as well. Again, I don't know what Overwatch 2 is going to currently do to this scene as well. So it could be something that we consider moving away from. Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch. Console's about $200. The game itself costs $60. Unfortunately, I can't give you any sort of ports or firewall settings because it varies from school to school. And if I'm being honest, this one is a nightmare because Nintendo doesn't offer much support or to help. They really don't have an esports initiative. So they do not provide any of this information, which makes it really tough because what works from one school isn't going to work for another school. So we've had some schools that have had no problems getting it to work, and then we've had others that it takes them 2 months to figure it out. So I know it's a super popular title, but unfortunately, not always the most user-friendly. So it is 1-on-1, or you can do 2v2s, or you can actually do some 3v3 gameplays as well. 75 playable characters. It is a fighting game, but again, it's made by Nintendo, so it's meant to be like a family-oriented game. So unless you don't like seeing Mario beat up Pikachu, that's really it. There's not much for violence here. Very cartoony. Big names like Pikachu, Kirby, Star Fox, Samus, like just stuff from all the Nintendo franchises. So there are other titles, but we don't offer them. Fortnite is available through the HSCL. CSGO is also available through HSEL. Same with Rainbow Six. NBA 2K, Madden, Call of Duty, Hearthstone, Magic the Gathering Arena, Smite, and Paladins. We don't offer a lot of them because of the M-rated nature of it. So like CSGO, Rainbow Six, Call of Duty, we won't touch those because they are M-rated. They're realistic violence, stuff of that nature that we know is really tough to sell. And if we're making schools play at school and install these titles on their machines, just potential issues for something. For HSEL and Play VS, they don't require you to play at school under supervision. So if students want to sign up, which I've seen before, they just sign themselves up and compete on behalf of their school without their school even knowing. I've reached out to quite a few schools here in Wisconsin, and it's like, hey, do you have somebody that's like overseeing your esports team? And they're like, our what? I'm like, yeah, esports. You have 3 teams that are competing in the HSEL. And they're like, no, we don't. And I'm like, yeah, you do. And so they don't even know that students are organizing and competing on behalf of the school already. So Hearthstone is a card game. Magic the Gathering is a card game. Yeah, I mean, I like both of them. It's just something that we haven't offered right now. Any questions on space and technology requirements? The Valorant questions come up a couple of times. I don't know. It's in beta right now, so I'm not super confident right away. I'm gonna wait to see what the final version looks like. I know Riot's already pushing the Esports initiative on it, but I really don't know what the game is going to hold. If those are going to be the end graphics or anything like that, it's tough to say. So, as somebody that's been playing Valorant for a little bit, I could see it being added because I know they added the you must remove the blood and gore feature in order to feature it as a competition. So, I like that. Smart thinking there, Riot. All right, gonna go ahead and keep going here. Try to wrap up. We got two categories left here: coaching and advising. There are tons of items out there for you in order to help you with coaching. Even if you don't know the game, that is completely okay. You can still run practices without knowing the games themselves. Um, just sometimes putting students in a room and forcing them to scrimmage each other or to work together. Like any other traditional sport, there are non-sport drills that we run, right? Like team building, you hit the gym. Sometimes just playing chess together is really good. VOD review, where you just like review your previous match played, or even just play another team outside of your division. That's something that you can easily do in order to help schools get better. I can help provide you with different practices and drills that you can run. Rocket League actually has built-in practice tools to where you can actually download custom maps and stuff like that, and actual custom training drills that people have created all across the internet. So there's tons of resources there in order to help your Rocket League team. There are also professional orgs like the National Association of Esports Coaches and Directors that have emerged. They just hosted a conference before our whole COVID situation in Des Moines, Iowa. It's really inexpensive to become a part of, and they are working on helping coaches and directors improve their programs, improve their coaching style, and yeah, it's actually a really, really good organization. So if you're going to go ahead and be more of the knight style and you don't know the games, again, completely okay. Um, as the advisor, there are certain things that you need to do, right? Reporting matches. We require a screenshot be taken of match results just so that way there can be no teams disputing results because we have a screenshot of the results there. If you choose to update the stats spreadsheet, so on the right there, this is an example of a League of Legends stats sheet here that we make it optional. And those teams that keep stats will qualify for all conference or all state. You saw the buttons and medals earlier in my presentation here. We just implemented that this semester. And then it's up to advisors or coaches to submit their kids for all conference and all state. We actually had two conferences, so nine teams in each conference that didn't submit a single player, which was relatively sad to see because there was some really top talent in those conferences, and those students don't get to be recognized. So it's unfortunate that they didn't get nominated. Communicating with other coaches and advisors is really important. Again, if you can be on Discord, awesome. If not, got to be proactive on the email. Just reaching out, whether that's, quickly at lunch, just getting into the process of emailing the other team and just being like, just to confirm we're on for this evening or this afternoon. Or all of a sudden, hey, I have two players out sick. We won't be able to participate tonight. We have to take the forfeit. Something along those lines, just to be a little bit proactive. And then there are so many other alternatives that we can do right now. As far as collegiate tournaments, land tournaments, and stuff like that that are happening around the state and the Midwest. This all started because we got invited to go down to Robert Morris University and compete in the high school esports invitational. Um, I took my well, I took a group of Arrowhead students down to Culver Stockton College for their LAN tournament, where we ended up walking home with first place. So that was really cool. There are colleges that are hosting tournaments as recruiting tools. Um, I know Culver Stockton does one. Lawrence University in Michigan has done one. Western Michigan has done a couple. So we're starting to see a lot more of these tournaments popping up. They're not mandatory, but they're also a great way for your students to get involved within the community, start talking to some of these colleges that are offering scholarships or esports competitions at that next level. So, not a ton on coaching and advising. It's definitely something that if you want to get better at something, please feel free to reach out to me. I am pretty versed in all of our titles and even titles that we don't offer. So I may not be the highest rank, but I am gold pretty much across the board in every title. So, real quick before we jump into the next one here, I don't see any questions. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and keep going. So that way you can go ahead and get outside and enjoy the day here. So, so many career and college opportunities are coming forward here. It's really ridiculous. This was used by NASEF or developed by NASEF here. I've just kind of rebranded it to meet our color scheme here. But these are the different ways that our students can go ahead and start moving forward with esports potentially as a career. Now, whether or not they end up working in esports as a career, that's whatever. You can work in tons of different careers based upon whatever your skill set is. So this is just something that they put together. It's a great visual. If you're looking to see which colleges that are participating, NACE here, NAC Esports, is one of the largest competitions for colleges. So you can actually look them up. You can actually figure out which schools are recruiting for which games or which titles that they're competing in. This is probably one of the largest ones. The other large one is going to be TESPA. So if you actually go out there, you can look up all the schools there. In the state of Wisconsin, though, here are our private schools, to my knowledge, that are offering esports, whether that is with scholarships or just at the collegiate competitive level. Right down the road for me, I live in Waukesha. I'm well connected with Joe Loomis, who is the program director over at Carroll College. Lakeland University is, of course, headed up there by Mr. Amon Green. Marquette doesn't, to my knowledge, have a program director in place, but Patrick Glavoski, sorry if I butcher your name there, Patrick, but he is a current student there at Marquette, and he is doing fantastic work as a student leader. Marian University is spearheaded by Jim Gray, and Leo is the current president. And I'm sorry, I forget who the coach's name is. I know Edgewood has had a job posted multiple times for a program director. MSOE is a student-run club there as well, and they're highly competitive. They're hosting a high school tournament last weekend that had, I think, 16 high schools from the state of Wisconsin participating, and then our friends over at Concordia. As far as public colleges here, Whitewater just announced, at least to me, that they are going to be building a dedicated esports facility with like 24 machines and an arena of like 150 to 200 people. So that's awesome. That's one alma mater right there, crushing it. And then my master's alma mater, UW Stout, is huge into esports. They also host major LAN. I'm gonna go ahead and call them conventions, but yeah, they get 300 to like 600 people to come up to their LAN events that they host up in Menominee. Eau Claire is involved. Stevens Point, Platteville. Obviously, I'm helping with this. La Crosse, Northwestern Technical College is as well. I'm sure there's a couple that I forgot as well, Madison does have a team. They don't have a program director to my knowledge. I've been in their Discord before, but I couldn't tell you anything. I'm not going to say I wasn't welcomed with open arms, but it was definitely some of that culture that I was talking about that we're trying to get rid of was present. So, um, as far as careers go, again, I will make this presentation public as well. So if you want to check it out, you're more than welcome to. But Hit Marker Jobs down there is a massive esports job board. So we are starting to see a massive explosion in these types of careers starting to come forward. Here's a quick breakdown from essentially 2 years of data information. So you can really see, obviously, how much software engineering and marketing have exploded across the scene here. This is not just it's not just esports related to, right? Like some of this is, but this is ultimately, I'm going to go ahead and say the video game industry as a whole. Um, you know, the marketing firm just on the road from me, GMR in New Berlin. I know that they have an esports position that has sometimes come up. A lot of our major colleges around the area are starting to get more involved. I personally have interviewed for the Akron, Ohio position, Michigan Tech up in the UP. I unfortunately just had to turn down the Northern Michigan University position, but there are so many of these places that are starting to pop up all over. So these numbers are just going to continuously keep growing, and it's going to be, something that we could hop on. Wisconsin doesn't even have a Microsoft store, but we are one of the leaders in high school esports. So it's awesome. Hopefully more tech companies start coming towards the Milwaukee area. I know Summerfest Tech happens before Summerfest, and I hope that happens again this year. But it's something that Wisconsin doesn't have a lot of that I would love to see us have more of. As far as careers by state here, you can see this is last year's numbers there, but Illinois went from like the 16th to the 7th. While that doesn't seem like a ton, especially when you look at the number of jobs there. But, I mean, we're starting to see like there's Steel Series in Chicago. Excuse me. I know Riot Games has an office in St. Louis. So there's quite a bit starting to pop up all over the place, especially with the Big East as well being an esports conference now as well. So your DePaul Blue Demons are in there. Marquette is obviously in there, but we're starting to see more and more of these college conferences. So that means that there's more and more jobs that are starting to come up. Georgia is a huge hub right now as well, just because there's a couple of major franchises down there, big tech companies as well. All right. Any questions over collegiate and careers? All right. I'm flipping back and forth here, so if you have any questions, let me know. And that's our last category, but some additional items here that you may be interested in. Again, I love the charity events. I'm a big fan of Extra Life. This year I had to shave my head all the way down because my work raised enough money in order to meet one of my benchmarks there. Live streaming events is really awesome. It can really be for any school event, whether that's traditional sports, concerts, graduation. I've seen some schools are now doing morning news streams on Twitter, which is really awesome. There is going to be an academic esports conference down in Chicago, tentatively right now for October. Yours truly will be presenting there. I also got to present at EduCause on behalf of Microsoft and Dell last year, which is a higher education big conference down there as well. So that was a really cool opportunity. I got to work with the ISU Redbirds, which is another opportunity I missed out on, but that's not here nor there. But again, so many other competitions that are happening around the country right now. The Cardinal Open is going on right now. State Champs is a tournament that's put out of Michigan. The U.S. Army, all branches of the U.S. military right now are getting into esports because they too see it as a recruiting tool, and it's not just boots on the ground that our military and armed services need. They need the computer scientists, the cybersecurity analysts, the data scientists, a lot of the same types of students that are within esports are going into those types of careers. Again, college-specific tournaments. There you can see the medal and trophy from the Culver Stockton College Invitational. There's a social distancing cup going on right now where it's like $30,000 worth of scholarships are up for grabs. The Zero Gen Cup happened the other week as well. So there's tons of opportunities. It just really depends on like how much that your students want to compete and get involved. We have some schools that are like, I swear they're in every tournament that I look up. Like the kids are very interested in participating against other high schools. And I think that's really cool. We're starting to see like rivalries across the state being built up. Like for Overwatch, Bayport against Horlick has been a constant thing, a big competition, a big rivalry right there. We can build on some existing rivalries that are already happening across the state. Like, Arrowhead played against Waukesha West quite a bit, or even against Oconomowoc. And we try to build on some of those existing rivalries that are already there as well. So, but again, there's tons of opportunities. There's a lot of conferences coming out now. It's really impressive. Some great resources for you here. Again, NASEF, and I can't stress them enough. Super awesome organization. Really, really proud of them. Definitely someone that we consider partnering with as well, just because of the positive things that they're doing. Mr. James O'Hagan from the Racine Unified School District has a podcast where he interviews people within the esports industry, college coaches, the whole gamma of people that are working in education and esports combined. So I listen to it every single time he's got a new episode out. Esports EDU, there is a weekly Twitter conversation that happens. There's also an Esports EDU Discord server where that community also talks all day, where we have everything from high school to college, college job boards, middle school, like states that are trying to get middle schools involved and getting those competitions going. It's a huge resource share place. So it's a really great community to be a part of. It's really positive, and I'm really happy that I joined the Esports EDU community. Then there are tons of just Discord servers to join as well. Again, depending on how much that you want to get involved, I'm involved in, I don't know, like 40 different servers. And I try to get into all of the colleges, especially around here in Wisconsin. So that way I can be active in some of those conversations, that I can provide my 2 cents as to what's going on from the K-12 standpoint. So that way, transparency, helping each other, stuff like that. The NAECD is huge. I'm really looking forward to joining that organization so I can become a better coach and director just in general. And then just Twitter. There's tons of opportunity on Twitter in order to get involved within this space. Each game has its own dedicated server as well. There are Reddit communities that are huge as well. Just tons of great resources, and it's great. Everybody's willing to share. Nobody really is like, oh, this is mine. I mean, I've shared our bylaws with Ohio and Texas, and same thing. Like, we share all of these resources so that we can help work together in order to create a better experience for our students. They are our number one priority. We want to ensure that they have the best experience possible. So. To get involved, we do have some additional coaching clinics. Right now, this is going to be a mandatory thing that we are hosting. It's very similar to today, so it might be a repeat of certain things. But we're making this mandatory this year because we've had schools that don't read the rules and regulations, and then when it comes into competition, then all of a sudden there's tons of questions, or they don't know how specific things are run. So we're really going to stress mandatory coaching clinics. You only have to pick one, and we try to spread them out quite a bit. WISCNet is they're a great group there in Madison, and they're always willing to host us. It's great. They give us tons of space, and they're there to support and help us as well too. They're very pro what we're doing. So great to have them helping us out as well. Otherwise, thank you for participating. If you would like to, if you're watching on Twitch, anytime we go live, there's a follow button up in the top right. So if you want to follow, so like tonight, I'm going to be streaming at 6 p.m. New Glarus is playing in, I'm running a little 20 team tournament right now. We have 10 schools from Ohio, 5 from Wisconsin, 4 from Iowa, and 1 from Michigan. So little League of Legends action going on, and New Glarus is always like, hey, we want to be the featured match. So there's the WIHSEA Twitter. If you want to reach out to me on Twitter, if you have follow-up questions, you can shoot me an email. I live on a device. I'm always at my computer here, or I'm always connected to my phone. So if you ever want to reach out, if you want to get on our mailing list, let me know. I am here to help you. The Discord link, shoot me an email. I need to verify that you're with a school, so that way then you can have access to the Discord. Again, try to limit how many people can get into there, as there's quite a few students, so try to limit some of that as well. So otherwise, that's going to be it for me today. I appreciate all of you taking the time out of your Saturday, this beautiful Saturday that we're having, to spend an hour and a half or so with me to learn more about esports. So that's going to be it for me. Otherwise, have a great weekend, and hope to see you involved soon. So bye now.